So, Russell, thank you so much for joining us here at the Just Do It headquarters. You just got to work out, and you were talking to me about it, right? How'd that go?
It was great. We're here at the Just Do It headquarters in LA just to be able to come here with the high school kids with Nike and bring those kids here, completely surprise them. So it was pretty sick, and just spending time with them and really motivating them, getting them fired up. It was just a lot of fun. So I think about the dreams that I had when I was a young kid. I think about I told them at the very beginning. I remember, I'll never forget how many people told me no, that I wouldn't be able to do it. And there's a lot of kids in that room that are the same size that I was in high school, or maybe somewhat looked the same, or whatever it may be, but still had big dreams and still had great visions of what they wanted to do and how they were going to do it. And so at the end of the day, success leaves clues, and you have to be able to work for it. You have to be able to have a plan. I told them, if you're going to go to the movies, you got to know what movie you want to see. You got to know what time the movie starts. You got to know where the movie is, and you got to know how to get there. And so at the end of the day, it's the same thing in life. If you at the end of the day, you want to see the great story, you want to see everything that you want to do to be successful, you got to be willing to know what time it starts, what it's going to take to get there each step along the way, and be able to make the right turns when you need to make them.
I like that. I like the movies analogy because I've never heard of it, but it's so relevant. You're right. You have to know exactly what you really want to see at the end of the day, so you have to make sure to put in that work in. So you mentioned taking it back to these kids reminding you of a younger version of yourself, right?
Yeah,
now,
sure.
Tell me about what was the first time you remember playing the quarterback position?
Ooh, man, the first time I remember playing was in my house, throwing that football around and breaking glass. That's what I remember. I remember my dad played for the Chargers for a short period of time with Kellen Winslow Sr. and Dan Fouts. Ended up getting cut by the Chargers and everything else, but he caught a touchdown against the 49ers, and we had that ball, and it was painted on one side and had the touchdown or whatever. And we used to throw that ball. I still can't, to this day, I can't find that ball. I think it was destroyed. But my brother and I used to throw. My brother's 6 years older than me, so we used to throw football all the time. And so that was my first memories of football and picking that ball up and throwing. And I came out of the womb ready to throw. So I was always breaking stuff around the house, but I didn't play in a league until I was in 7th grade.
Oh, wow.
I played every day pretty much outside in recess, and that was a good thing about growing up in Virginia. Growing up in Virginia, you had 4 seasons. You had fall, you had winter, you had spring, you had summer, and so during the spring and summer seasons, you'd be playing baseball all the time, and then and really in fall and the winter. Those were most of the times I was playing football, obviously. And so I remember waking up in the mornings, it's snow outside, and you get a few feet of snow, and you're playing football with your buddies outside. And that's where the dream really started. And it really started with, just visualizing, knowing what I wanted to do. One of the things, too, I think that's important for the youth in particular is knowing and having a plan, but also knowing who you want to be like. Like, is there, like each person, I always say this to people, whether if you want to be an artist, whether if you want to be a football player, basketball player, if you want to be a doctor, whatever you want to be in life, there should be at least 3 people that you can name off that you want to be like, and 3 people that, I want to mimic my game or my life, or I want to do things similar to what they did. And I want to learn from what they've done well. I want to learn from their tough experiences. And also, you should also have 1 or 2 people that I want to kind of figure out how to do it better than what they've done, for whatever reason. And so I think you have to have people that you can look up to. The people when I was a young kid that I loved watching. Granted, I was a really good baseball player, and so I had some people in my head of baseball. Derek Jeter was my favorite athlete. So I loved Derek Jeter growing up. I loved his professionalism. I loved the way that he played the game. I loved how he always had a smile on his face. Was always clutch. We never panicked. And that's what I love about Derek Jeter. I love Michael Jordan, his mentality, the killer instinct, how you knew he was going to get the ball at the end of the game. At the end of the day, when it was 4th quarter, all right, everybody in the stadium knew, he's going to come back and he's going to win this game. And that's the feeling that I want to give off every time I play. And then, there's a couple other people too as well. I really loved watching Michael Vick. He was really the first real, quarterback that really made some crazy plays, running the ball. Donovan McNabb, made some crazy plays too. And those are the kinds of guys I watched growing up that, you watched in the back of your head. I love King Griffey Jr. He was a superstar. And so hopefully I can be that for somebody one day. And hopefully I can continue to give that off.
I think it goes without being said that you play that role for a lot of different youth athletes, and honestly, not only youth athletes, but just people overall. It's interesting that you mentioned Derek Jeter and you mentioned Michael Jordan, who don't play the sport that you play today, but there's some qualities that you carry as an athlete that you get from many different sports. Let's take it back just a little bit with your family, because your brother wanted to be a wide receiver.
Yeah, he did.
Like your father.
Yeah, he could play too.
He could, yeah. And you decided, you had to take on the quarterback role. It runs in the family.
My brother to this day says he should have played quarterback. He could actually throw it. He played center field too as well, so he had a really good arm. When he was in high school, they ran the wing T offense, so they were really running the ball a bunch, and he got the ball almost every play. But he didn't play quarterback. That's the one regret in life. He said, I think I'd still be making a lot of money, playing quarterback. But my brother was a really good receiver. Played at University of Richmond. Played football and baseball there. Had a bunch of catches at University of Richmond and got hurt. But I think he could have made it to this day. I really believe that. Just for whatever reason, God moves people to different things. So now, actually, my brother and I have started, a company. He's a partner of mine. Same with Trevor Moad, who's my mental coach, and then this guy named DJ, who's Harry's partner from before too as well. We've started a new company called Limitless Minds, and we're really focused on connecting. How do we enhance the individual, and how do we optimize human performance at the highest level? The one thing I think about all the time is, even when I was growing up, if a kid goes to the guidance counselor, for example, right? He goes to the guidance counselor. Well, that kid's considered weird, right? But, even as an athlete, as a professional athlete, ever since I got in the NFL, I've always worked on my mind. We always work on our body. We always work on, training and everything else. We watch tons of film. But the one thing that people don't work on enough is their mind. How do you overcome obstacles? How do you get prepared for a big game or a big situation, and really having a thought process on how to do that and how to think clearly, and then Trevor and I always say you don't have to be sick to get better. You don't have to be sick to get better. So many people think that when things aren't going well, this is when I got to improve and work on my fundamentals or work on life or work on this. But I think every day, and so going back to the reasoning of Limitless Minds for me, in particular with my brother, is that I want to be able to have I think teach people how to think with a limitless mind, to be unlimited, to think that no matter if you're the number one person at the new big corporation or the very last quote unquote person on the totem pole, that everybody matters, that I can have big dreams too. It's the same thing with high school kids, guys and girls. To the girl who may have an eating disorder, to the person who doesn't believe that they can be successful, to the person that is being told they can't be successful. How do you create a culture of enhancing the individual and optimizing human performance? So that's been a cool experience so far.
You're right. We don't focus enough on the mental part of things. So how does Russell prepare for a game mentally?
Well, I think for me, it started a long time ago. My dad, my mom, they always took me to my games, but my dad always gave me imagination. He always told me to visualize. He always told me to, have a plan. And so it started when I was young. And then also I didn't have much when I was growing up. So for me, I knew what it was going to take. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to go. I wrote out my goals and I wrote them down. I do the same thing to this day. And that's what I was talking about earlier, is how do we implement that in our youth today through schools, through our education system? I mean, think about, like I said, when a kid goes to the guidance counselor and doesn't have anything to do, and people, make fun of that person or whatever. Well, what if we made that the norm? What if we made that the norm through the education system? What if we made that the norm where people start thinking about these things, like these high schoolers today? They start thinking about what it takes to be successful. So when I get ready for a game, for me, I think about all the experiences I've had in my past, my whole life, and what that takes. And I just try to be calm. I try to think about what I want to do and how I want to be successful and what's going to take to get the mission accomplished. The mission every time I play is to win. It's that simple. And so I try to figure out what that goal is and what I need to do.
Now, when people think Russell Wilson, they think playmaker. Mm-hmm. Off the back, you're a reliable guy who gets the job done. You're a top-notch passer, an elusive runner, and arguably the best at combining those skills, right, in the same play. Now, we were looking at the NFC Championship game.
Yep. Which one?
The 2014.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
2014 NFC Championship game. Marshawn Lynch has just given the Seahawks a 1-point lead.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
You remember exactly that.
Yeah, it was a great
where
game.
We're at.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was a great game.
I don't forget anything.
Now, you have one chance at a 2-point conversion.
Mm-hmm.
Can you take us through that sequence?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, playing quarterback, you got to be the calm in the storm. You got to be able to look people in the eyes and make sure they believe what's going to happen next. And so I think that, I mean, exact words I said, but I remember going back into the huddle and say, this is what we got to do. This is going to be huge, guys. It's going to, put us up by 3. We need this right here. So whatever. So basically what I told the guys is stay alive. Stay alive. No matter what happens, stay alive. And I remember breaking the huddle, and I told Luke Wilson, be ready on the backside. And so stuff happens, extend the play, not there. First guy's not there, second guy, third guy, fourth guy's not there. Look back, and there goes Luke Wilson over there in the corner. And meanwhile, Julius Peppers is chasing me down, about to knock my head off. And I'm running around with like a chicken with my head cut off. And sure enough, Luke Wilson makes a great play. So those are the type of plays that you have to have no fear. No fear in those moments. And I definitely have no fear.
So a follow-up question to that. What do you prevent more? Do you prevent getting hit more or letting go of the ball too fast?
Well, I mean, I don't think about it. When I'm dropping back, it's boom. You got to let the ball go and get the ball to the right guy at the right time. If you got to take a hit, I'm pretty solid. I can take some hits, and so I stand there and just take it. You have to, and that's the thing that makes the quarterback position so tough, is that you have guys literally trying to take your head off almost every play. And so, and it's a madhouse. I mean, I tell people this, if you had a stopwatch, right, and you take your stopwatch out, and I said, ready, go, stop. That's how quick the game goes, right? I mean, that's how fast your decision has to be.
Right.
Ready, go, stop, right? That's almost every play. If you hold it on too much longer, now sometimes some plays extend and you make some fun plays and all that, but the reality is that that's how fast the decision making has to be, and so it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of guts, and you got to be tough and mentally prepared for that.
Is there a moment before that game that you remember? Maybe it came from a game, maybe it came from a practice, or maybe it's just a very early memory from even college or before then that prepared you for that moment?
I had a very similar play, actually, end of the game, I was at NC State playing against UNC. Very similar situation. It was 4th down, I believe, and at UNC. And we were on the 2-yard line, 3-yard line. The game was on the line or whatever. And their defense was amazing. They had so many amazing players, and they were chasing me down, very, very similar. And the difference was I threw in the back right corner versus the front left corner, but scrambled, kind of spun out, and just trying to extend the play. It's 4th down, and you got to, there's nothing else you can do. You got to give guys a chance. And I was able to put it in the back corner of the end zone, and we ended up catching the back corner of the end zone. Pretty crazy play. And so I go back to those moments. I go back to when I was a little kid playing in the snow, like I said earlier, playing in the snow when it's freezing cold outside and your hands are freezing and you're tired, but you're playing for the free pizza. You're playing for the ice cream first. You're playing for the things that you're playing for. Who gets to pick. Which team you're going to play on Madden. You're playing for those. You're playing for bragging rights.
Right.
And so nowadays you're playing for the Super Bowl. You're playing for the greatest match opportunity game there is, and that the most watched thing, maybe besides the World Cup. But. It's pretty entertaining. And so everything you do, every time you wake up in the morning, everything has to be surrounded around that. So, like I said, I think that you use the experiences that you've had in life and through even from being a young kid for you playing. And I think too is the other thing I say is that despite having experience now, I've had a lot of experience in the NFL. Even when I came in the NFL, I always say, experience is only necessary for those who are unqualified. I believe that I was qualified, and so I believe that through the hard work that I put on the off days, on the days, quote unquote off days, on the days that maybe somebody else may have been sleeping, those are the things that you have to do, and you have to believe in that. You have to write those things out. So it goes back to the very first thing I started at the beginning of when people said no, I answered why it was going to be yes. writing out the goals and what I was going to do, and having that plan of how to get to the movie and what movie I was going to go see. And I wanted to create my own story, and so that's what I think you have to be dedicated to.
Now, you mentioned goals earlier, and now again, is there a goal that you still have that you had a couple years back?
Yeah, I have the same things in my locker. I want to win multiple Super Bowls. I think for me, I wrote down I want to win at least 3 Super Bowls. That was when I was flying on the plane. I just left Denver, actually. Just met Peyton. I just saw Peyton Manning, and it was my last. It's right before the draft, and I was flying back from Denver back to Virginia, and I wrote out my goals. I wrote out my present everyday goals. NFL goals. I wrote down my legacy goals. How I want to be remembered and whatever. And so, I had my everyday goals. One of my first goals that I wrote down, for example, without saying too many my goals, because I want to know everything. But one of my goals was that, I want to treat every day as a new day, whether if it's year 1 or if it's year 15 or year 20, no matter what. When I look at that play, to Scat Hank, when I look at that play, I want to see it as if I've never seen it before. Write down the notes. I always say KTN, keep taking notes. And so treat every day as a new day. Be grateful for each moment that I have. So that was one of my present day, daily goals. Some of my legendary goals, legacy goals, was to be a great dad. To love people. To help change the world and to influence people, and use the opportunity that God has gifted me with to give back and care for others. And then I want to win multiple Super Bowls. I want to go to the Hall of Fame. That's why I wake up every day, is to help our team win and to do everything I can do to be successful. And as busy as I am and as many things I get to do, that never ever leaves my mind. It never has, and it never will. And so for me, I've had a clear vision on what I've wanted to do since I was 6 years old, honestly, and it has never changed. And so I think for me, just stay in the course, and just keep believing in what I try to do and what I do best and what I believe in and everything else, and just trying to remain faithful in the sense of how I think about, football and life, and just being, just really strong in that belief that God's given me this opportunity to do everything I can to try to be great.
Let's take it back to KTN. You mentioned that. Keep taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
You've been throwing a football for years.
Yeah.
That's no question. As the ball is snapped, what do you think about? What do you hear? What are you looking for?
Well, it's a good question, and I have an answer for you. I think that when I break the huddle, I'm going up to the line, and I have a checklist in my head. So the checklist is, who's my hot, what's my progression, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what's the purpose of the play, those things, okay? And then as I'm going up to the line, so I know those things. Boom, that's the first thing when I call the play. Boom, that's the first thing I'm thinking about. Then, a lot of things happen as you're looking at the clock and play clock. You're seeing the defensive line. Are they in 3-4? Are they 4-3? Are they in bear defense? What are they doing? And then because of film study, you're understanding, okay, what could the options be? And so for me, I call it the process of elimination. It's here. What is it not? Understanding what it's not. And then it's probably going to be 1 to 2, maybe 3 things on this look that they're giving. And so as you're dropping back and you're getting ready to call the snap count and everything else, and you're going back, when you're in the groove, it should sound like this.
Nothing.
Exactly. Right? Your head's not overthinking. It's not that. Is that hot? Boom. He's open. Boom. Give it to him. That's the feeling as you're going. It's funny because I've played in a lot of stadiums. Being at University of Wisconsin, being at NC State, even playing at Clemson and playing at Florida State, and playing at Ohio State. Big games, and playing the Big Ten championship, and playing in Chicago Bear Stadium as a rookie, playing against the Patriots and Foxborough, playing in Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowls, playing in playoff games, and playing in big games, playing pro baseball, everything else. It prepares you for those things. I know, I just know what it takes to win, to do the things that it takes, and to feel each moment. And I focus on that, and you have to train your mind for that. Like I said, you have to be in the moment. You have to train your mind at practice. You have to train your mind when you're traveling on a plane and writing down your goals. As a rookie, you're flying from, Denver back to Virginia, and writing out your goals on a sheet of paper. You're thinking about that already. You're thinking about the feeling of it. And so, like I said, that's never changed for me. So it should be quiet. It should be smooth in your head.
And because you mentioned you do a lot of improv, right, during the game. Are there any rules that you rely on to make sure that your improv doesn't, devolve into chaos?
Well, I've been doing it my whole life. It's chaos, but it's a calm chaos in my head. And so just being clear, knowing the situation, knowing, who's chasing me too,
right?
what player is, and every guy in the NFL. And you think about it, the best, 53 guys, on each team, and so there's not so many guys. I always think about this. I'm one of 32 men in the world that get to do what I get to do. So, I've done it for a while, and I understand what I need to do. And you make those decisions based on each play. You don't try to. One thing is, when there's chaos, you don't try to predetermine. You go with what you know, and I think that's the thing that you just trust your eyes and trust what you see.
Trust what you see, trust your eyes, trust your team too, right?
Exactly.
So let's transition over to Seahawks and teamwork. For a quarterback like yourself, for any football player, it's hard to be a playmaker without some help from your teammates. Tell me about how you prepare as a team to be clutch.
Well, I think we got great players. I'm super excited about this year and what we're going to do. We got some young guys, but we got some guys that can really play. Like I said, experience is only necessary for those who are unqualified. I think that's where my experience, that's where the things I've been able to do, the games we've been able to play in, the 2 Super Bowls, the playoff games, the big opportunities. That's where you lead. That's what I get paid for, is to lead guys and lead a group of men to do great things. And so I believe that for us, it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. I always tell guys that as soon as every practice, I tell it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. I tell them every day that same thing. And I just think that you have to be able to visualize what it's going to be, what it could be, what you want it to look like. You have to have all those things before you lay your head down on the pillow at night. I look forward to the tough moments. Some people don't. I look forward to the fourth quarter. I look forward to when the game's on the line. I look forward to when, if something's not the best right now. Okay, this is what great players do. They come back swinging, and so that's the thing about big games, big moments. There's always they got great players too. They got great players too. So I think that it starts with practice. It starts with how you train and how you get your mind right.
And in order to get your mind right, your body has to be right. What's the secret to taking care of your body so that you can compete at the highest level?
Well, I think that you have to be able to invest in the things that are necessary. It's like, for me, if you have a high performance sports car, you got to take care of it. You have to, if you're in Formula One, F1, you got to be able to take care of that thing as much as you can. And so, every day, I have my pit stops every day. So I have a full-time trainer that comes with me everywhere. Decker Davis, he was here training the kids today. We also had Janet, my PT, who was one of the best in the world. She's done some amazing things, and so she was here today too as well to help train the kids. So I work with them every day. And then also I have a massage person. I do yoga now all of a sudden, past year.
How's that going?
It's been great. So, I really, like, one of my strengths of my game is my movement, right? And so that's one of the things that I've been focusing on is being able to move at the highest efficiency possible. And so that's been great for me. So those 4 people, in terms of the high performance team, and I also have the mental coach. So those things, I invest in those things because I know at the end of the day, I had a guy, his name Leon Washington, one of the best kickoff returners of all time. I'll never forget, it was my rookie year. I was in training camp, and Leon and I are in the hot tub, and Leon's been playing for 8 years or whatever. He's just taking the kickoffs to the house every day at practice, every day in the games, pretty much. And I asked Leon, I said, Leon, what's and I always had a mind of treatment and doing all that kind of stuff, hot tub, cold tubs, all that kind of stuff. But I asked Leon my rookie year, just trying to learn advice. I said, hey, what's your thoughts on getting ready for the games and being healthy? It's a long season, it's my rookie year. It's a long season. So what are your thoughts? he said, do you get massages? I said, yeah. And he goes, how many you get a week? I said, I'll get two. I'll get two a week. He goes, think about this. And he said, I get 3 a week. So think about this. If you get, let's just say, for example, you get, 3 massages a week, $100. How much is that a week? I said, $300. Okay, so he said, $300. Okay, yeah. And he says, okay, so if you do that for 10 weeks, how much is that? I said, $3,000. Okay, if you do that for 20 weeks, hopefully, because we're going to the Super Bowl. He said, if you do that for 20 weeks, how much is that? Well, okay, I was doing the math. Oh, $6,000. I said, okay. So he goes, that $6,000 may turn into $6 million for me, right? He said, that $6,000 for you may turn into $60 million. So that's why you do it. I was like, oh, okay.
You invest in yourself.
Yeah, you have to. I want to play every game. I love playing the game. I love being out in the field. I love balling. So I want to feel good. I think Deion Sanders said it best. Feel good, look good. Play good.
Part of training and part of staying healthy and investing in yourself. A lot of our listeners here deal with injuries, right? How do you deal with injuries both physically and mentally?
Well, hopefully I don't get injured too often. I'm only gotten injured a couple times, but I think a lot of it is there is no other option. I'm playing. It starts with that mentality first, and then I think ultimately you have to do what's best for your body. You have to be able to know your body. Everybody's body is different. So what it takes to make sure that you're ready is the key. And so injuries are part of the game. Injuries are always going to happen, but the ones who I believe great players find ways to play. And that's what I believe when they can. So, you got to be able to play a little dinged up.
And you know what? Since we're here at the Just Do It headquarters, Russell, why is this such a special place for you?
Well, the Just Do It headquarters, first of all, the name. It starts with the slogan, right? Just do it. That's when, I believe it was in 1989 or something like that, when Nike changed it to this idea. It may have been 88. The 88. Idea of 88. It was a slogan of, changed everything took the company from one thing to the next. And it was just a thought process, a clear vision. Like I said earlier, you have to have clarity. And I think this facility is the same thing for athletes, is giving them the best chance to, right in the heart of LA, have the best chance to train some of the best athletes in the world, and come in and have a place that great athletes can be around each other. And there's a cool wall in there in the Just Do It headquarters where kids and athletes and stuff get to write their names on the wall and get to write, what their dreams are. And so, I think it's a place where you're getting some of the best training in the world. You can get some, get ready to go. You can do whatever it takes to make sure your mind and your body is ready. So it's great training here, that's for sure, and it's a cool experience.
So tell us a story about the time that a trainer helped you improve or helped you reach the next level of your game.
A few years ago, I was able to go down to San Diego and train with a guy named Ryan Flaherty, who's at Nike actually, and he's at Nike now. And I just wanted to be away. I wanted to keep my mind really clear and just train like crazy. And so I was able to do that. We did twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, and we just got it in. So then I ended up. Now I have Ryan's at Nike now. I hired Decker Davis, who's now with me all the time. So there's a lot of moments in my life and my career. I remember college. I remember high school. I had a great trainer in high school too as well. But I think for me, training's been it's a habit. It's a lifestyle. If you want to be successful, it's got to be a lifestyle, and it's a choice every day. And once you make that choice and create those good habits, that's when great things happen and good things happen for you.
Well, Russell Wilson, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Thanks for having me, and it's been cool. So go Hawks.